All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Ask Me Anything session at 1 o'clock for the School of Computing. I am Associate Professor Khim Yong. I'm the head of the Department of Information Systems and Analytics. All right, so with me here today, we also have Mr. Roy Chua.
Hi, I'm Roy. I'm currently in year 2 studying information systems.
All right, thank you very much, Roy. All right, so again, a very warm welcome to today's session on Ask Me Anything. Before I go ahead with the Ask Me Anything session, I would like to do a quick housekeeping briefing. All right, so for this session, this is to enable you folks, the potential applicants, to ask any questions, okay, about all the 5 degree programs that we have in the NUS School of Computing. All right, so I being the head of the Department of Information Systems and Analytics that hosts 2 degree programs. All right, so that is the degree in Bachelor of Computing in Information Systems and also the Bachelor of Science in Business Analytics. All right, so given this fact, I'll try to kind of take on perhaps slightly more questions regarding these 2 degrees. And of course, with us here today is Mr. Roy Chua. So he'll be able to give you, a lot of information right from the horse's mouth in terms of his experience of being a student in the Information Systems degree program. And after this session, we will have another session on Ask Me Anything together with Dr. Desmond Ong and also our Business Analytics alumni, Ms. Kong Yan San, who she has already actually graduated, but has kindly agreed to come back to host this particular session at 2:30 p.m. And then right after that, at 4 o'clock, we also have another Ask Me Anything session that's going to be hosted by Associate Professor Su Yan Juan, and together also with our current computer science student, Mr. Joel Wong, who's actually also in the 2nd year. Okay, so in case you are going to kind of miss this particular session, or if you need to leave early, okay, you don't need to worry. We are actually kind of going live, of course, across these 3 platforms that you see on the screen. Okay, we are live on Facebook, okay, we are live on Instagram, and lastly on YouTube as well. Okay, in case you need to leave early, all these sessions are going to be recorded on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So please do feel free to go back to this platform to view the session that's currently being, of course, live streamed and going to be recorded. And importantly, if you have any questions, do feel free to type in those questions, all right, on Facebook or Instagram and YouTube. Okay, so besides these 3 platforms, we also have a Q&A chat session that's hosted on Discord. All right, so as you can see, you can talk to us on Discord chat with our friendly professors and student ambassadors. Okay, the particular URL you can see on the screen right now. All right, the short bit.ly link. Okay, so you can chat with our student ambassadors, our professors, from now all the way to 6 o'clock in the evening today. All right, so in case you also have other questions after the open house, you can also talk to us on tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday as well from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. in the late afternoon. Okay, and likewise during the weekend, you can also ask us any questions. Okay, we're going to be there also on Discord, right from the morning 10 a.m. to the late afternoon at 5 p.m. All right, and also importantly, I'm going to host another Zoom session about new programs in NUS School of Computing. So this will be happening on this weekend, Saturday at 1 p.m. Okay, so we're going to host a Zoom session on the Zoom webinar platform. All right, so I'm sure most of you should be familiar with the Zoom webinar platform. You can actually register for this Zoom session. All right, so I'm going to talk about some of the new programs in terms of what they call the School of Computing Common Curriculum. All right, so that's one key new program in the NUS School of Computing. And I'm also going to talk about 2 new degree specializations. All right, specializations in the IS, the Information Systems degree, which is Digital Product and Platform Management. And the second new specialization for the IS degree would be the Intelligent System Solutioning. So these are the 2 new specializations in the Information Systems degree. So I'll give a bit more information about these 2 specializations on Saturday. And also, I'm going to talk about another new specialization in our Business Analytics degree program. all right, so which is machine learning based analytics. So if you're interested in all these new programs, okay, together with me, Dr. Sharon Tan, okay, we'll be talking about the SOC common curriculum and the new degree specialization on Saturday. All right, so I'm going to talk to you folks, the prospective students. If there are any parents, if there are any NS folks, okay, who can't join in today, please do, okay, log in to the Zoom webinar session on, okay, this weekend, Saturday. I'll be more than happy to talk to you folks and to answer any questions that you guys might have. All right, so besides all these chat sessions, we are also going to have a session on NUS computing at Gather Town. So this is actually a virtual kind of platform where you can kind of gather to talk to some of our current students, some of our students who are also in the computing club. All right, so there's actually a game that's going on called a secret mission that's ongoing, and you can join in to win prizes. Okay, so this is ongoing from now all the way to 6 p.m. All right, the URL is actually shown on screen, so do join in, okay, at NUS Gather Town. Okay, and for NUS Gather Town, if you are interested to talk to our venerable Prof. Ben Leong, okay, please do join in, okay, at 2:30 p.m. Okay, all the way to 3:30 this afternoon. So Prof. Ben Leong, if you have kind of logged into NUS Resource, you should know, okay, who is our Prof. Ben Leong. So he'll be more than happy to chat with you, to talk to you about anything that's happening in the NUS School of Computing. And also, some of you may or may not know, he's also our director for our Center of Computing for Social Good and Philanthropy. All right, so we do a lot of activities in the school, okay, to do and to create projects for computing social good. Okay, and also on the NUS Gather Town platform, okay, we have our current computing club president, okay, Mr. Ravin, who's going to talk to us, okay, about some of the student activities in the NUS School of Computing and the various, okay, orientation events that's going to come up, okay, later in June to July this year, okay, before you folks join us formally at the NUS School of Computing. All right, so as you can see, Ravin is going to be there on NUS Gather Town at 2 o'clock later and at also 4 p.m. later. All right, so do join in at NUS Gather Town, okay, via the URL that's shown on the screen. All right, and lastly, some miscellaneous information on the admission criteria, application details, fees, and scholarship. So all this information are actually hosted at our URL, which is on the website for our Office of Admissions, all right, in short, OAM, okay, which is the first link that you see on the screen. And if you are interested, okay, to know more about our 5 degree programs that's offered in the NUS School of Computing, do join us at the join.com com.nus.sg URL that you can see on the screen. And lastly, if you have any questions that you may have that you want to send us through emails, all right, so do send us email at the email address that you see on screen, socug, okay, at com.nus.edu.sg. That's our email contact if you have any questions on any of the 5 degree programs. All right, so thank you very much. So perhaps let's start, okay, the Ask Me Anything sessions. And okay, we will certainly welcome you, okay, to enter your questions across all the 3 platforms that I briefly mentioned earlier. All right, so do type in your questions on Facebook, okay, YouTube, and in Instagram. So while we kind of await the questions from you, so let me just have a chat, okay, with Mr. Roy Chua here, who's our second-year IS student. So Roy, can you tell us a little bit more about your background? Were you from, let's say, for example, from the junior college or the polytechnic?
I'm currently, I've previously studied in the junior college before I entered NUS.
I see. So did you have a computing background before you joined us in the NUS School of Computing?
Actually, I don't really have a lot of computing background, just a few like knowledge here and there after attending a few online courses, but just the basic programming syntax, yeah.
I see, that's great. So in junior college, for example, so what made you kind of decide to kind of take on interest in computing, interest in IT, and eventually kind of decided, of course, to apply to our IS degree program?
For me personally, I think a lot of my interest like really stems from my love for problem solving, really like facing challenges and like being able to come up with like beautiful solutions to actually solve these problems. And I think I'm also quite interested in managerial aspects as well. So I think being someone who also likes tech on the other side, I think I decided to choose IS because IS has a good mix of both, not only the technical aspects of coding and computing itself, but also the managerial aspects that allows me to basically combine both into like a major itself. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So Roy has basically kind of gave you folks a very quick kind of overview of what the information systems degree is about. So I completely agree with you in the sense that the IS degree is really about solving business problems with different types of IT solutions and systems. All right, so to the audience out there, some of you may or may not know, the computing field is a lot more than coding and programming. All right, so if you're interested in solving business problems through the development of different types of IT systems, digital apps, mobile apps, IS degree would be the one that you could be very interested in. All right, so Roy, can you tell us a little bit more about your experience so far as a student after having gone through the first year modules and the second year modules thus far?
I'll say my experience so far has, I think no doubt it has been quite challenging. I think in terms of the not having like any like prior experience in computing or not having taken it in JC itself. But I think it's also been very rewarding because, like I mentioned before, I'm someone who really likes problem solving, and being able to actually problem solve and come up with codes and actually see your codes come to life in the form of like a program or application that develop. I think there's a lot of joy to that, and that's something that I personally really like a lot. So I think even though it's been challenging, I think I really enjoyed my time here, and it's been really fun to really create something that you right from the scratch and something that you love as well.
Wonderful. So as Roy was saying, of course, some of the modules will be challenging, but at the end of the day, the support and the camaraderie from the students, your classmates, all those are important elements as a student in a school of computing. All right, so a lot of our modules actually involve projects. All right, so projects where you work in teams of 4 to 5 students, for example. So there will be discussions online, there will be discussions on face-to-face sessions during not only of course on Zoom and also in the classrooms and tutorials as well. So those are a big part of student learning in the NUS School of Computing. All right. So so far, do we have any questions from the audience out there? All right. Okay. So I see the questions about what's the difference between business analytics and information systems? All right, so since both degree programs are using computing in business. All right, so that's a great first question to start off with. Okay, so I'll give you folks a brief rundown of what is the main difference. All right, so as I said earlier, the information systems degree is really about solving business problems using different types of IT systems and IT applications. All right, so in contrast, the business analytics kind of degree is all about solving business problems, not exactly through the development or the implementation of IT systems, but it's more through the application or usage of 3 things: data, models, and tools. All right, so the main idea of the business analytics program is to impart and teach skills that enable you to solve business problems through the combination of those 3 things that I mentioned, which is data, models, tools in terms of software tools or statistical analysis tools. All right, so in that sense, the focus is slightly different. All right, so depending on your interest, if you're interested in, let's say, for example, as someone who's really interested in, let's say, for example, being somebody like Sherlock Holmes as an investigator, in the sense that you want to know more about the insights. All right, so you like to know more about insights from data. You want to dig deep into finding out among the big data. Some of you may have heard of the term big data. All right, big data means that you have data sets that's huge. All right, so some of you in your current coursework in junior colleges, for example, would have experience in using Microsoft Excel. All right, so Microsoft Excel, in my mind, after all, is really kind of small data in the sense that the number of rows in Excel is somewhat limited. all right, in our kind of technical field in big data. Okay, big data means millions, billions of records. All right, so given this huge data set, it's not easy to get insights. All right, so there are different methods, there are different models which you can use that we teach in the business analytics degree to kind of uncover some insights from the data, and using those insights, we use it to solve business decisions, to kind of optimize business processes. All right, so this is the key focus of the business analytics degree. All right, so in contrast, as I kind of briefly mentioned earlier, and also Roy has just now kind of briefly mentioned, the information systems degree is all about solving business problems through the development, okay, of enterprise, what you call enterprise, okay, or business level information systems. All right, so say for example, you talk about huge enterprise systems and bank systems. All right, for consumers, for example, that has to enable, say for example, consumer banking applications. All right, in other settings would be, let's say for example, credit card systems. You need to verify the identity of the customers in the banks in the credit card settings. All right, if you talk about other settings beyond banking, you talk about developing healthcare solution systems. All right, when you go to hospitals, when you kind of check in at the clinic or the hospitals, again, they need to verify your identity. Okay, they need to kind of look at your electronic health records. All right, electronic health records has this particular lingo in the healthcare IT technical systems. It's called EHR. All right, the term EHR is a kind of a very specialized term. All right, so you develop this sort of EHR systems. All right, and these are enterprise level systems that has to take care of a lot of considerations. All right, considerations in terms of the business requirements. All right, so as you can imagine, a banking system has its own business requirements in terms of taking care of the financial side of things, in terms of the security. All right, so some of you, of course, may have heard of a lot of security lapse issues in one of the particular banks in Singapore. All right, so taking care of the finance side of things, the banking side of things is one particular consideration. The security side is also extremely important. And likewise, the security side of things also applies to the healthcare setting side of things. Okay, and in the healthcare setting also, we need also to take care of the doctor, the physician side of the system's requirements. All right, so develop the systems for be it the banking or the healthcare setting. All right, so we will teach you different skills, okay, in the IS degree program. So we will teach you, let's say for example, enterprise architecture and systems development, okay, courses, which I was just chatting with Roy just now. So he has actually taken some of those modules. All right, so I'll just keep it as that to answer these questions. If you have any follow-up questions, do feel free. All right, can we have the next question? Hi, Roy. Fantastic. Okay, so let's look at this question. Why did you choose IS over CS or BZA? All right, so I'll let Roy answer the question.
Okay, yeah, I think this is one of the things that I also wonder a lot when I first decided to apply to NUS itself, because yeah, I know computing, there are so many different majors to choose from, and like all of them offer like such varying things. I'm not so sure which one to particularly go for, but I think ultimately the thing that struck to me the most was the idea about being able to basically code out problems, or like basically solve business problems using computing itself that really struck to me the most. I think that's the reason why I eventually chose IS, because what IS focuses a lot on is not only being able to, not only the coding aspect itself, but also the managing aspect, like being able to manage a digital product and being able to see like kind of like a bigger picture of the code itself, and like basically like the whole technical product itself. Yeah, so I think if you're someone who's interested in both, I think the business side when it comes to the managing aspects, as well as like you have an interest in computing itself, I think definitely IS would be a right choice for you. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Roy. Perhaps I can kind of add on to answering the question as well. Let me just show you a slide on my particular screen here. All right, so as you can see on the screen here, this slide kind of gives you a very general overview, okay, of the overarching kind of supporting domains, okay, that makes up the IS or Information Systems degree program. All right, so as we were saying just now, the Information Systems degree program actually spans two domains. All right, so first of all, of course, the computing domains, okay, where we teach you the computing fundamentals. All right, so computing fundamentals are essentially similar to those in the foundational modules in the computer science degree. So we will teach you, let's say for example, the very first course in coding or programming, okay, which is CS1010S, okay, or CS1010J. All right, so for the information systems students, they will actually take CS1010J, okay, which is teaching you folks the first programming module using the Java language. All right, so the Java language, and for computer science students is either learning through Python or JavaScript. All right, so it's slightly different across the different degree programs. All right, in the IS degree, we also teach you various courses that enable you to learn skills for full stack software engineering. All right, so we also have modules that cover data engineering. So data engineering is a very key part of various data analytics and data kind of analysis projects in companies these days. All right, so learning how to kind of clean up data, to kind of organize data before any analytics can be done is also a huge endeavor that we need to kind of teach you and impart to the students. And lastly, we also have modules that actually cover Internet of Things, and of course also different types of kind of AI systems. All right, so the three kind of computing domains in terms of artificial intelligence, augmented reality, Internet of Things actually will combine to what we call in terms of a new specialization in the intelligent system solutioning, specialization in the information systems degree. All right, so this is one thing which I will share more information on the particular session on Saturday 1 p.m. Okay, on the management domains, as you can see on the slide on the right side, all right, so we will teach you some of the e-commerce concepts. We will also teach you some concepts in, let's say, for example, customer relationship management, social media, and digital marketing. So this, okay, 2-3 different kind of subdomains will constitute, importantly, as a new specialization, okay, which is the digital product and platform management specialization in the information systems degree program. All right, and one of the management domain, as you can see, is also importantly the fintech, okay, the fintech domain, okay, under the management side. So we also have the fintech specialization in the IS degree program. So some of you who are interested in the fintech areas, okay, you can also take this specialization in the IS degree. All right, so thank you very much. Can we have the next question? All right, so what is the learning curve like for the different modules at NUS computing? All right, so perhaps I'll take a first step first, and before handing off the time to Roy to talk about what's the learning curve for different mods at the NUS School of Computing. All right, so in my mind, as a professor or instructor or lecturer in the School of Computing, and also perhaps also as an alumni. All right, so most of you probably would know, I was just chatting with Roy just now. I am actually also an alumni of the information degree program. I myself graduated from the IS degree program, probably, I don't know, 25 years ago. I'm actually from the cohort or the batch of 1996. All right, so in those days, and I was chatting with Roy just now also, in terms of the different types of modules in the IS degree, a lot of things have changed, of course, but the learning curve side of things, of course, typically will be a little bit higher in terms of learning curve during the foundational modules. All right, in the first years, we got to get up to speed for you folks to teach you, let's say, for example, the fundamentals in coding and programming, and we also cover things like data structures. All right, so data structures are actually an important part of receiving a computing education. So these modules are likely going to be new to you folks, okay, who are from the junior colleges, unless you have, let's say, for example, taken H2 computing. All right, so I would imagine most of you would not have taken H2 computing. All right, so if you have, the learning curve is slightly going to be easier during your first 2 years. All right, and going on beyond your first 2 years, the third year and fourth years, I would say that generally you will find that it's going to be a little bit easier, although it might be a bit somewhat counterintuitive. I myself, as a student, I found the third year and fourth year modules are slightly easier, and they are more interesting because they enable you to specialize in the specific areas and domains that you are interested in. All right, things like I can share with you some of the upcoming new things that are coming up. we're going to have a module in, let's say, for example, in talking about developing digital applications in the metaverse. All right, so some of you may or may not know what the term metaverse refers to. Is actually all the augmented reality, virtual reality applications on Facebook. All right, so some of you may also know that Facebook has changed its company name to Meta. All right, just a couple of months ago. So we're going to offer new modules at the 3,000, 4,000 level. That means modules at the third and fourth year level, which are going to be really exciting. All right, so what about you, Roy? What do you think so far in terms of the learning curve as a student in the first 2 years?
Actually, I think I agree a lot with what Prof. Gohs says over here because initially, because I mentioned before, I didn't really have a computing background. So like when I first take the computing modules itself, it's a lot of like getting used to the idea of coding, computing, what is it about, coming out with algorithms and etc. So at the start, there was a learning curve to get used to basically the concept of computing and programming itself. But I think from then onwards, it's kind of like a gradual progress as we move up to the next module, like a higher level programming module, and going on to take even high level modules beyond that. And I think one of the things that I really like, especially in my information systems course itself, is how it's kind of like a slow build up. Like we have modules that teaches us firstly on a particular design concept. Then it goes to teach us basically the server side things, like developing things on basically on a command line interface. And then we go on to develop things on the front end. And then all of these together will culminate into our final capstone project. So it's not really a big jump from one module to another, or a big jump from a lower level module to a high level module. It's kind of like a gradual process. Whatever you learn from the previous module, you will take some part of it and basically build on it for the high level modules. So I think currently my experience being a year 2 student now, having spent about 2 years in computing now, is that I've more or less is accustomed to the concept of programming itself. So right now it's more of it's not really a steep learning curve for me, and I really get used to the concepts and also the pace of the modules as well. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Roy. So perhaps I'll just follow up on a quick point of what Roy talked about being a gradual process. All right, so this process is kind of instituted in our course designs for our various modules in the NUS School of Computing. All right, in the sense that before you can move on to the more advanced modules, you actually need to kind of fulfill some of the prerequisites. So what do I mean by that? So let's say, for example, you need to finish CS1010S or CS1010J. After having finished that, then you can go on to some of the 2000 level data structure modules. All right, so you cannot just say, for example, take modules in a haphazard manner and go on straight to the 2000 or 3000 level modules. So that process is kind of managed and designed in a very purposeful manner, just to make sure that students have the requisite knowledge in some of the foundation modules before you go on to the more advanced modules. So that kind of what you call the graduate process is kind of designed and managed in this manner. All right. Let's move on to the next question. All right, so the next question is about, would it be possible for IS students to declare a second major in management at the end of the first year if the relevant business modules are read? All right, so a second major in management, I'm not too sure whether the business school has a second major in management. Typically, I can tell you most of our students don't really take a second major in the business school, mainly because a lot of the business and management modules are already kind of covered and taught within the School of Computing. All right, so in that sense, you don't really need to kind of take a second major in management. All right, in the sense that all our professors actually in the IS degree, in my particular department of IS and analytics, a lot of us actually graduated from the business school. All right, so I myself have a PhD from the business school as well. So we are more than equipped. We have the expertise. All right, so we have the skills. Okay, we have the knowledge to teach a lot of these modules at the business side and the management side, okay, within the School of Computing. All right, so some of our students actually have taken second majors, okay, in, let's say, for example, from the other schools or faculties. All right, so Roy, do you know any of your classmates who have taken second majors in other disciplines, for example?
Yes, actually I do have a couple of friends who take like, I think in this case, a couple of friends who do a management major or minor, as well as, I think there are a couple of friends who also take economics,
Yes.
as economics and also maths,
Maths,
for
yeah,
second
that's right.
majors. Yeah.
Yeah, so economics is actually, I think, also a fairly popular second major. All right, so we also have what you call a double degree program, I believe, with the economics degree. So if you're interested to do a double degree in economics and combine with IS, okay, that's also a popular combination. All right, and of course, if you don't do a second major, you can always take you don't do a second degree or double degree, you can always take a second major in economics. All right, and some of the students, okay, not only in IS, actually in computer science degree also, they take second majors in statistics, for example, in math, for example, which is of course a lot more quantitative. All right, so that's also useful. All right, can we move on to the next question? All right, good question. So the question is about, do we need to do programming in business analytics? Does NUS Computing's business analytics program focus mainly on coding, since it is a computing course? All right, so to answer the first part of the questions, do we need to do programming in business analytics? So the simple answer is definitely yes. All right, so we will teach you programming right from the very first course, actually, when you do join us in the business analytics degree program in the School of Computing. All right, so we will teach you CS1010S, okay, which is taught in Python. All right, so for all business analytics majors, your very first course in coding or programming, okay, will be conducted in Python. All right, in some years, actually, Prof. Ben Leong actually taught that course, okay, CS1010S. All right, so in the other module, which is BT 1101, Introduction to Business Analytics, you will also be taught coding, okay. Not so much of programming, okay, in my mind is actually more scripting in what you call R. So R is a statistical computing platform or language, okay, which is based on an open source kind of platform. All right, so you'll learn R and Python, all right, in your first years in the business analytics degree program. All right, so beyond that, okay, you will also learn, let's say, for example, programming or coding in MongoDB, for example. All right, so that's the particular programming or platform that you will learn in your second year module, I think, which is in data management and visualization. All right, going on, if you take some of the more kind of IS, okay, coding or systems development modules, okay, you will need to pick up Java as well. All right, so in the business analytics degree, perhaps one thing I can also share is that it's not solely about data analysis. All right, it's not only solely about data engineering, it's not solely about data analysis, okay. Simply because, okay, when we talk to the industry or into the companies out there, okay, they also need the data scientists, the data analysts to learn, okay, at least some basic skills in systems or applications development. All right, so that is why, okay, we also offer the opportunities for business analytics major, okay, to learn a little bit about systems and applications development. All right, so we have modules at the 3000 level, for example, that we teach you folks how to do coding and programming just to develop, okay, and business analytics platforms or systems. All right, so those modules are typically conducted using Java. All right, so that's one kind of big difference. Okay, that's perhaps different, okay, from the data science and analytics degree program that's being offered in the Faculty of Science, right? And some of you may also be wondering whether there's any difference, okay, between our business analytics degree compared to what you call the business analytics specialization in the business school, okay, which is the Bachelor of Business Administration. Okay, they also have business analytics specialization. All right, so which is of course going to be less computing intensive. All right, since a BBA, Bachelor of Business Administration degree, focuses more about teaching you the business concepts, the management concepts. All right, so here, again, if I can show you a slide on my screen, all right, so which is this particular slide. Okay. All right, so as you can see, this slide gives you a very quick overview of what I kind of briefly mentioned earlier in terms of the core differences, okay, between the 3 degree offerings or specialization offerings across the left side, okay, which is the data science analytics degree program, as I mentioned. So this is going to be offered in the Faculty of Science. All right, so this particular degree focuses on mathematics and statistics, and of course combined with some amount of computing knowledge. All right, and in contrast, if you look to the middle kind of square, okay, which is our business analytics degree in the School of Computing, so this has a balanced coverage across the computing domain, the data and statistics domain, and lastly, of course, the business domain. So we do teach you, let's say, for example, what are the key kind of marketing concepts. Okay, so marketing is all about 3 C's and 4 P's. It's fairly simple, as I can say. 3 C's referring to competition, customer, okay, and so on. And the 4 P's, okay, typically will refer to pricing, product, placement, and promotions. All right, so it's no good or not good enough to be doing marketing data analytics or customer data analytics without understanding some of the 3 C's and 4 P's. All right, so that's why it's important to have a balanced coverage across, let's say, the computing domain, would be, of course, the coding skills, the skills to kind of use statistical coding tools, okay, in R, in Python, okay, and combined with business knowledge, and lastly, combined with what you call the data. So the data is critical to doing business analytics. All right, so data will refer to not kind of synthetic or simulated data. So the data here, okay, we refer to actual real-life data. Okay, actual real-life data in a marketing context will be, let's say, for example, customer loyalty data. Okay, I'm sure some of you, okay, would be real members of customer loyalty programs, and let's say, for example, Starbucks. For me, I'm a member of the ESSO kind of Smiles program. Okay, I drive a car. Okay, I need to pump petrol, so I have a lot of points. All right, so companies like Starbucks or ESSO, for example, okay, they look at this sort of real-life data to decide, let's say, for example, what sort of promotions to target certain type of customers. Okay, customers who may have not shown up in your store for quite a while. All right, so if you want to incentivize him or her to show up in your store, one of the best thing to do is, of course, to give kind of coupons or promotions, all right, in order to kind of select and target a relevant set of customers. All right, you need to use kind of models to decide or to look at who are the customers who are likely to respond to the promotions you are to conduct. All right, so these are some of the things we teach you using real-life data, all right, combined with business knowledge, combined with computing tools. All right, so this is what is the business analytics program is going to be about. And lastly, the business administration degree, okay, which has a specialization in the business analytics. So this is going to be mainly, as I said, focusing on the business side of things, okay, with a little bit of about probably 5 to 6 modules only, okay, that covers the data and statistics part. All right, so this is, as I mentioned, 5 modules. In contrast, a business analytics degree, okay, you need to finish 40 modules. That's 40 modules. So if you contrast a degree, which is 40 modules, and compared to a specialization, let's say, for example, in the business school, which is only 5 modules, so you can see the amount of depth and coverage. All right, so of course, for the detailed syllabus, I'll leave it to you folks to check out, okay, on our website. All right, so thank you very much. We can perhaps move on to the next question. Hello, Roy. So why did you choose NUS over other universities for the computing program? What was the deciding factor? Well, I guess the answer is simple in my mind, but of course, let Roy answer that. Yeah, go ahead, Roy.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Yeah, so I think when considering like the computing courses, I think firstly, like I mentioned before, I was considering IS courses, like courses that implement both the computing side as well as like the business and management side. So I think maybe on that note, there are 2 universities, obviously in local universities that I was considering. So that was NUS and SMU. But ultimately, I think the reason why I chose NUS was quite clear. It's because NUS is able to not only offer that technical depth, because we not only do we focus on the managerial aspects of IT itself, we also focus a lot on the technical aspects as well. So like we are not compromising any portions, and it's a good mix of both. I think that's the reason why I chose NUS Computing and NUS IS in particular.
All right, thank you very much, Roy. So can I just flash this slide on my screen, which is kind of my justification of why I think the answer to that question is simple. All right, so this chart shows you the latest results of the graduate employment survey. All right, so these are salaries of our graduates who graduated last year. All right, so comparing the salaries of the NUS graduates versus other institutions, all right, in Singapore. So you can see straight up, okay, the numbers, the differentials in terms of the computer science degree in NUS, and likewise information systems, business analytics, and so on. So I can just kind of quickly summarize. I won't go through the numbers in detail. Suffice to say, our NUS computing graduates command a premium, all right, in terms of graduate salaries compared to other institutions or universities in Singapore. All right, thank you very much. Let's go on to the next question. All right, so will my first choice give me a bonus when applying? And will the fifth choice be at a disadvantage? All right, so good question. So if you are really sure about your particular passion, and if you want to kind of put that as your first choice, let's say be it information systems, business analytics, or computer science, yes, if you're a junior college student, all right, putting out a specific degree option as your first choice will give you up to a bonus point of 2.5 marks, okay, in your total UAS score, which is, I think, your university admission score. All right, so that would help you to kind of put yourself in a much better position to be admitted, okay, to your first choice degree program. All right, when you put it as your first choice, well, I would probably say that it would not really put you at a disadvantage, okay, but in the sense that if you put it as a first choice, you will not enjoy that 2.5 marks bonus points. All right, so perhaps as simple as that. All right, can we have the next question? Hey Roy, could you talk more about how the student life in computing is like? I would love to hear from your experience and what the incoming freshman can expect. All right, go ahead, Roy.
I would say my experience, the student life in computing has been quite great itself. Maybe just a short background. When I first entered, I think because I didn't really stay in campus or anything, so I didn't really have a particular set of like groups that I can like particularly join when I first entered. So I think one of the things that computing offers in terms of student life is basically the computing club programs itself. Because what I participated in was one of the orientation camps where I was an organizing committee for it. So I think that's one of the things you can look forward to, especially when you're a freshman, being able to participate in like committees, camp committees, as well as like planning of other events within computing itself, to like maybe make friends and get to know people as well. But I would say one thing good about computing is it's a very vibrant social student life, and it's everything for everybody. So if maybe planning camps or planning events is not your cup of tea, there are also a lot of various student interest groups and clubs. For example, if you're interested in fintech, if you're interested in student entrepreneurship, there are many clubs in computing that's able to offer and cater to like your particular interest itself. So if there's definitely a lot of different things to expect as a freshman in computing, so that's a part that you don't have to worry about. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Roy. So I will again like to emphasize that certainly there's a lot of things for you to do in NUS and of course in NUS School of Computing. So it all depends on what you really want to do, what you want to get out of university life. So importantly, also as advice to Roy, 4 years flash by very fast. I mean, Roy, I'm sure you agree. 2 years has almost passed. All right, so before you come on to NUS, it's important to kind of know what you really want to get at out of the university life. All right, so say for example, I can tell you for sure, NUS as a student is not solely about getting 100 marks, scoring well in exams. All right, so it's important to know more friends. It's important to kind of establish your social network. All right, so as I told you, I myself is an alumni of NUS as a IS student. All right, so in those days, we used to always kind of congregate. Again, those days was in the Faculty of Science. All right, so we eat, okay, we discuss, we joke, we gather, we talk about projects. All right, and to this day, I always maintain contacts with my friends. All right, and these are going to be extremely useful. You will find 20, 30 years or 10, 15 years down the road, because these are your friends, this is our social network. All right, I'm sure some of you will find jobs. Let's say, for example, I'm sure Roy will agree with me. Let's say 5 years later. All right, so you need those sort of contacts, okay, among your friends to find good jobs, okay, in great companies. All right, so thank you very much. Can we have the next question? Do you have to be good at programming for the information systems and the business analytics degree program? All right, so I will give the answer in the sense that you need to be reasonably good in programming for information systems and business analytics, but that's also generally true in any of the 5 degree programs in the NUS School of Computing. All right, so that said, it's also important for me to say that computing education is not solely about programming. All right, it's not solely about programming because importantly, I think computing as a discipline entails more about also importantly going beyond coding in C, in Python, in Java. All right, there's a whole lot of important domains that you need to take care of. Let's say, for example, even just to develop a simple mobile app. All right, a mobile app is just a mobile app. To combine with some of the systems, to combine with some other applications, to develop into an enterprise level platform or portal, okay, there are a lot more considerations. All right, so a lot more considerations in terms of business concerns. All right, you need to make sure that in terms of developing enterprise level systems, let's say in the IS degree program, we need to teach you, okay, what are some of the strategic business objectives that need to be combined with some of the IT side of the things. All right, so in other domains, you need to, let's say, for example, if you want to be a startup founder, all right, a startup founder, you certainly need to be more than a superb coder, for example. You need to know what is your business plan. You need to know what is your go-to-market plan. You need to know how to price your product. All right, say for example, some of you may know and would have used the Carousel app. All right, so the Carousel app was actually founded out of NUS Enterprise. All right, so one of the founder, Mr. Louis Ngu, is actually our computer engineering alumni. All right, if you talk to him, I'm sure he will tell you that to be able to kind of bring up and develop Carousel for a simple app to the level as it is today, okay, which is close to, okay, I'm not too sure or remember, it's probably close to a unicorn level these days. All right, it takes a lot more than programming. You need to kind of liaise with the venture capitalists. Okay, you need to decide what is your revenue model. All right, so all these things we do teach you in the NUS School of Computing. All right, be it let's say in the information systems or in the business analytics degree, even in the computer science degree program. All right, if you want to kind of learn beyond algorithms, you can kind of take part in what you call the SOC Furnace Incubator. All right, so we liaise with the venture capitalists if you have a great startup idea. All right, so we kind of link you up with the venture capitalists who can fund your startups. All right, no need from the startup funding from NUS Enterprise. All right, thank you very much. Let's go on to the next question. Hey Roy, how do you meet new people in information systems and School of Computing? Did you join any freshman orientation programs or camps? All right, this is very important. All right, I'll let Roy talk about it.
Oh yes, yeah, so when I joined computing, yes, I did join the freshman orientation camp. So that's where I met a few of my OG mates who I'm still even in contact even after 2 years itself. So, but on top of that, I think one of the things that I mentioned before is that I've actually joined various clubs within computing itself. So I'm currently in computing club itself, and that's where I also managed to meet a lot of friends from there, where I had the opportunity to actually organize the camp, actually meet people not only from our information systems, but also from other majors as well. So I would say definitely if you want to meet people, which I think is a very crucial aspect, like what Prof. Goh mentioned, to be in computing itself. So I think it's good if you really go out there to join the camps and join the various clubs and participate in the activities itself. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Right, so knowing more new people is very important. And beyond your classrooms, of course, you will meet new friends in the various courses in the NUS School of Computing. But besides meeting friends in the courses. It's also important to meet them in the clubs, during various events like hackathons, which Roy mentioned earlier. And some of you may also meet new friends, okay, when you stay in the house of residence. All right, in the various halls, okay, there's a lot of activities. It's always important not only to know friends within the School of Computing. I can tell you that among all the big startups that have come out of NUS and the School of Computing, a lot of them were actually founded, okay, based on a group of friends in case the School of Computing, from the business school, from the faculty of engineering. Is this combination of interdisciplinary knowledge across the various disciplines among your friends that you can kind of come up with good ideas. All right, so that's why it's also always important to know friends across and within the School of Computing. All right, let's take the next question. How do the students decide whether computing is for them before having any computing experiences? All right, great question. I mean, this is kind of the key reason why you're here. Right, so whether computing is for you, I guess, in some sense, in a very simple answer, if you like kind of solving problems, if you like developing tools, if you like kind of tinkering with things, if you like to kind of be some kind of investigator to kind of dig or find insights from data. All right, so the various degree programs in School of Computing, I would say, would be for you. And of course, you need to be somewhat be good, have a reasonable background in the quantitative aspects, be it in mathematics, be it in statistics. All right, so because after all, some of you may or may not know the domains of computer science and information systems, for example. The fundamental knowledge are basically applied mathematics concepts. All right, so we take that, of course, the applied mathematics side, the applied statistical knowledge side, to develop them into applications, to systems, okay, to put them into kind of business applications. All right, so that's my short answer. As to from the student's perspective, I'm not sure whether Roy, do you have anything to kind of share from your own experience? For example, how did you kind of decide whether computing is something for you?
I think how I decide was actually, I think one ready resource online is like the number of like programming courses that you can find online. So I think a good place to start, like if you're unsure of what computing is or what programming is or how do you even code, like what is code about, I think a good place to start is to look up these online programming courses. They don't teach every single thing, but it gives you a good insight into a bit of what we do or what we learn in computing itself. So I think, especially if you want to know whether this is for you, I think it's a good place to start. But I think another way that also helped me really decide whether computing is for me is to talk with a lot of seniors and people, you know, who are working in the computing field or who are undertaking computing degrees itself, and to really like listen to what modules they take and like what are the things that they took away from it, and like what are the challenges they face, and to really put yourselves in that shoes and that idea and determine for yourself there whether computing is right for you itself.
All right, thank you very much, Roy. So whether computing is for you, as I kind of was talking about, you do need to have some quantitative background. All right, so as long as you're comfortable with that, you like kind of solving problems, okay, we certainly welcome you to apply to the NUS School of Computing. Okay, after all, we have 5 different degree programs, all right, that kind of caters to different domain of interest. Okay, be it solving problems to using software and algorithms, or if you have any more interest in kind of using IT or computing applications for business side of things, perhaps you could kind of choose IS. Okay, but the important kind of information I want to share is that even if you are not really sure which kind of degree offerings from the NUS School of Computing you might be interested in, the good news is you can switch after your first semester, okay, or even after your first year in the NUS School of Computing. All right, so you can apply to kind of switch your degree majors within the School of Computing. All right, should you find that some other degree programs might be more interesting after coming to NUS, after coming to School of Computing. All right, so you might decide to sit in some of the lectures in some other degrees. Okay, if you find the other degree is more interesting, appeals to you more, okay, you can apply to change or switch your degree majors in the NUS School of Computing. All right, can we take the next question? Hi, Roy. Wow, you're very popular today, Roy. Have you completed any internship in the past 2 years? If so, can you share more about your experience and how you managed to apply what you done during the internships?
Okay. Currently, I've taken an internship over the past summer. So actually what I did was a technology consulting internship with EY itself. So more about my experience in as a technology consulting intern, I really get to see the product. Basically, we are supposed to push a product for a client through multiple development cycles. So I think how this is relevant and basically for what I'm learning right now is I'm able to see like a more real life perspective of what I've been taught in schools, and to really try to apply like the concepts that I've learned in school into my internship itself, and being able to see a different perspective as compared to learning it in school itself. So yeah, I think this is one of the things that I experienced, and I think one of the things that I've managed to actually take away from my internship that was helpful in studies as well. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Roy. So in terms of internship, perhaps I'll just share quickly some of the internship offerings in our School of Computing. So as a computing student, you need to complete compulsory internships, which goes on for at least 6 months. All right, so depending on the specific degree programs, let's say if you're a computer science student, you can go for 2 stints of internships that's 3 months apart. All right, so you can go for one internship, which is 3 months, and then another internship, which is also 3 months. So a combined duration of 6 months, that should fulfill your graduation requirement. All right, as for information systems and business analytics degree students, you need to complete one stint of 6 months internship. All right, so one short internship that lasts 6 months. All right, so in terms of applying what you learn, we do make sure that all the internship project specifications are vetted by the professors. All right, in the sense that we want to make sure that our students who go out, students are right who go out, don't end up, going to the companies to do photo stating tasks, to make coffee for the workers and your colleagues in the companies. So that's certainly not what we want, and we do ensure that. All right, our professors do follow up, with the supervisors, with the companies, to make sure that they do meaningful, deep scope internships, that benefit the students' learning, and of course at the end of the day also benefits the company's objectives. All right, so let's go on to the next question. All right, do you think there are more opportunities in the market if you take CS over BZA? All right, so I would say in terms of opportunities out there at this present moment, the opportunities in terms of jobs are pretty much equal, I would say. All right, well, be it you are a computer science student or a business analytics student. So all these opportunities, I would say, would depend on the specific requirements during specific years, during the years that you graduate. All right, so currently, of course, the hot jobs in the industry are definitely software engineers, data scientists, for example. All right, so in terms of the number of job openings out there, certainly there's a lot of job openings out there, be it for software engineers, AI specialists, AI engineers, data scientists, data analysts, and so on. All right, so I would say something there's pretty much equal opportunities. All right, thank you very much. And I actually only have about 1 minute left, so I will just quickly wrap up and take this last question. Any last question that I can quickly address? What is the difference between NUS computing analytics, business analytics, and the business school's courses? All right, so I believe I've actually kind of briefly talked about that earlier. So to just quickly summarize again, our business analytics degree actually is a lot deeper, and it has a balanced coverage across the business domain, the computing domain, and the data and statistics domain. And in order to kind of finish that, you need to finish 40 modules. Unlike the business school's courses, in terms of specialization in business analytics, you only need to finish 5 modules in the business analytics area. All right, so in terms of coverage, the scope, and the depth certainly is very different. All right, and our focus in the School of Computing is also teaching you deep skills in not only the data analytics, the coding skills, and also equipping you with the right business domain knowledge. All right, so time is 2 o'clock now. All right, so that basically wraps up our Ask Me Anything session for this afternoon, all right, together with Roy. So thank you very much, Roy, for spending time to us to give your perspective from the horse's mouth. All right, I guess that's important. If you have any remaining questions, please feel free to join us on the platforms, the apps that you see out there, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and also importantly on our Discord chat platform. All right, so you can follow up with any of our competing student ambassadors. Roy will be there as well. All right, so you can talk to him there. And lastly, if you have other questions that you want to send to us through email, do send us through email at the email contact address that you see on screen right now. So lastly, again, thank you very much for joining us here this afternoon. We do hope that you do apply to the NUS School of Computing, and we'll see you hopefully in the NUS School of Computing this August, and for the NUS folks, of course, 2 years later. All right, so thank you very much. Take care, and bye-bye.